This movie was about
Yeah. Yeah. Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens, capture.
MCU movie fans, Marvel fans, you know what? Just movie fans in general. Welcome to the For My ATL Movies presentation of Thor Ragnarok. It's your host T-Will and my guy Jordan Burton. Jordan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. All is well. I have no complaints, man, and just looking forward to spending this time with you, my friend, and exploring the depths of Thor Ragnarok, the movie released in 2017 by Marvel, directed by, is it Taika Waititi?
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi. And I gotta admit, it was great. I did enjoy the movie. Kind of enjoyed it the second time as well, but in a different way. I know you enjoyed it in a different way, and we'll get into that, but it's just interesting going through this product, looking at these as not just. I think the first time I went through the MCU, I looked at it as an adaptation of the comic books and not necessarily a movie and a story in and unto itself. And the wonderful thing about this process, and the reason why I gotta thank you and I will love you forever, is it's given me a new way of looking at it. And I think you and I are gonna be, well, I don't know where we're gonna be, but I think we're gonna be on different sides of this, because I found myself really enjoying this. And again, for me, it was a story element, right? Because the first time I saw it, it was all, oh, okay, how does it line up with Marvel? And how does it line up with this? And what about this guy's power? And the action sequences, as opposed to really, really paying attention to the story. And you and I were just having a conversation about the humor in this movie, and you feel like it doesn't stand the test of time. I love the humor in this movie, and maybe it doesn't, but I guess because I'm looking at it as a story first, you get what I'm saying? Then for me, the humor was like an added bonus, right? But I to me, it still is funny. But anyway, let's get into what you were saying it about, just in general, about the humor and how it doesn't stand the test of time. Kind of explain that for us and where you're going with that.
Yeah, I look. I think there's a lot of parts that are really funny. And I mean, especially, I think most people are going to compare it straight up to Thor: Love and Thunder, which is a lot of humor that's in my opinion not good humor. Even the first time I saw Love and Thunder, I was just like, this is not funny, and I'm kind of annoyed. And then also comparing it to the opposite side of the spectrum with Dark World, which has almost no humor whatsoever. There's a couple, but not really. And I think Thor Ragnarok has really good humor, but also, like all the other Marvel movies, really outside of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think Guardians of the Galaxy inherently is comedy. Um, Most of the Marvel movies that we watch, comedy is played as a second nature. They're not straight up comedies.
Right.
Ant-Man probably is also a close to a comedy.
Right.
When you watch it. Same thing with Ant-Man and the Wasp. But with this movie, it's action first. I mean, with it, when you get anything Thor, it should be action first, and that's
Right.
something why Thor: Love and Thunder just does not work. It plays like a comedy. And when you have Gore the God Butcher, but we'll get to Thor: The Love and Thunder when we get to that. But the sequences in this movie where he's using Mjolnir, and he's all the action sequences in this movie are incredible. It is by far the best action of any Thor content that we've ever gotten. Probably maybe outside of Infinity War and Endgame. I believe Infinity War Thor is the best version of Thor we've ever got. I think Endgame kind of makes him more of a joke, and I was just having a debate with.
You don't like Fat Thor? You know,
We'll get to that when we get to.
you don't like Fat Thor.
When we get to Endgame, there's a. I want to take time to really talk about that, because I'm a strong advocate for mental health, and I don't care for the way that they
treated it.
Yes, there's two parts of Endgame, even though it is my favorite movie ever, so you can guess what the score is already. There's two parts of the movie in general that I just don't care for, and that is Fat Thor, and Smart Hulk. Smart Hulk, I just had a conversation last night with someone about that, because the new Brand New Day trailer came out. We can obviously say that Hulk is going to be in that. It might be a gray Hulk. We don't know. But we were talking about how Smart Hulk, a lot of people just don't like Smart Hulk. I think we got too much Smart Hulk. I understand why we got it for Endgame, but I love Hulk, like especially the Hulk we get in this. I think the Hulk we get in this movie should have been the Hulk we got for Infinity War and Endgame, because he can converse, but he's not this overarching rage monster that can kill even innocent people. It's like there is some control there. Right. So now Hulk has been Hulk for years, because last time we saw Hulk was Age of Ultron.
Right.
But when we get to Smart Hulk, it's like I remember the first time I saw it in the theaters, and I there was people in my theater laughing, I can remember, and I was just like, I didn't know how to feel about it, because I knew it was straight from the comics and the adaptation. And now different comics have this where Banner and Hulk merge identities. And I was just like, how am I supposed to take this? Like, I didn't know whether I was going to like it or hate it. And I didn't hate it initially, and I didn't really like it either. It was just something that, like, I'm okay with for Endgame, as long as this is not a long-term thing. And it kind of became a long-term thing with Smart Hulk, where we see him in She-Hulk, we see him just in general throughout the MCU, and as Smart Hulk, and I'm just like, I wanted this to be like a temporary thing, not a long-term thing, and which I hope Brand New Day keeps that, where we're going back to our roots, where we know who Hulk is. We know we got the Hulk. So yeah, I mean, like, this version of the character I really love, and I mean, like I said, the action in this movie is incredible. I think the action we get from Hulk and Thor is fantastic. I also think this is a great way of us seeing not World War Hulk, but like a version of Planet Hulk. And I'm like, I know we can't. People want a Planet Hulk movie. I don't, because I think that changes drastically the landscape of the MCU to a point that of no return. In a way that, like, Civil War does, in the way Civil War does. So I don't think we can do that. I think that I think you could do a Planet Hulk movie that is out of universe, that is not connected to anything, where you like recast and you have different actors playing different roles. I think you could do that. But I just think it would change way too much. So I'm glad we got this version of Planet Hulk. Like, I'm okay with this. I know people want something more faithful to the comics, but this is one of those times where I'm fine with them not being faithful to the comics. We still get a version of this Hulk. I remember I had an action figure of Gladiator Hulk when I was little. And this was over 10 years before this movie came out. And I remember it was awesome. I had like, it had the shoulder piece, like it looks very similar to this version that like we get with the poster. Now mine had more spikes on it and stuff like that. It looked like straight out of the comics, but love this version that we got. And I love that because Hulk has this like dumb humor mindset, and I like it. And I also think the way Thor was perceived in the previous Avengers movies was almost like he is this god, but he also doesn't understand a lot, and so he's almost perceived as not necessarily dumb, but just I mean, he's portrayed a little as dumb in certain situations, and that carries into Love and Thunder. But in this, Thor is very resourcul.
Well, he has to use his wits,
yes,
to get out of it, and
yes,
and we see, and Thor sees that there's more to that. We see, and Thor sees that there's more to him than just the hammer. I think this movie is this movie is basically, who are you without the accessories?
Yes,
who
I love
are
that.
you without the trappings of war? Who are you at the core? Right.
And that's the question we've always that's the question we've had the answer to well before this movie for Captain America and Iron Man. We knew who's Cap without the shield. We knew who he is and was.
Right.
And Iron Man without the suit. We know who they are. This movie defined Thor as a part of the big three.
Agreed.
Now, he might not have the movies that Iron Man or Captain America have, but this movie really helped him be put on the same playing field as those two and have our big three. Something that I think the MCU has been deprived of over post Endgame. This movie did so much, and in terms of putting this Thor on a new pedestal, and being very resourceful in terms of like in my opinion, the best Thors that we've gotten are Infinity War Thor. That's number one. 2 Ragnarok Thor, a decent sized gap Endgame, decent sized gap every other version of Thor, because he's this guy. Very similar instance. This movie really plays out like the first Thor movie, where he's kicked off Asgard in a new place that he doesn't know, and he has to be resourceful. And he also doesn't have Mjolnir in either one. That both movies really play out.
He doesn't have Mjolnir, and he doesn't have Odin.
Yes,
I think
in both too.
He doesn't have Odin in the physical realm. Like, even in the first movie, yes, Odin was in his sleep, but he knew Odin was alive, and ultimately,
did he though? Because Loki said that he died.
That's true. That's true.
So,
but there was but that was late. That was later in the movie. This movie starts off, we know Odin's gone. You're on your own, buddy. We know Odin's gone. And it starts off with you can throw your hammer at me, you can throw your best punch, the thing that makes you you, your jelly, your jam, and you know what? I laugh at you. It's like if you, Jordan, took one of your spreadsheets, which is probably arguably one of the best in the world, and threw it at me, and I was like, that's nothing. That's gonna affect you. You get what I'm saying? What this is about is what happens when the best weapon that you have, what happens when the best thing about you is not enough. I think that's, for me, the
And
premise of this. I noticed that you're wearing your Chargers jersey today.
mhm.
There's an obvious connection, but I'd like for you to make it for us in regards to, Thor. What's the connection there?
Well,
Didn't ask.
I mean, we got the lightning, and
The
we got
Thunderbolts, right? Thor, God of
yes,
Thunder.
of course.
Right, of course.
But yeah. So of course I had to wear a Chargers jersey.
Of course.
But I'm just now realizing, like, this thought that both the first movie and this movie kind of play out similarly in terms of him just being on his own in a new area without Mjolnir, without Odin. And I would say he has more people around him in this movie with Loki and
Hulk.
Loki, Hulk, and Valkyrie. And versus he does have Jane and her little small group in the first movie, but they really play out so similar. But the huge difference is the experience, and his experience also leads him to being more resourceful in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he is a much better, like, when he almost accepts his fate when he can't lift Mjolnir in the first Thor movie. When he can't lift Mjolnir, it's like, all right, I gotta be human for the rest of my life, basically. Like, he gave up. And in this, he's constantly trying to look for ways to get off of I don't remember what the planet's called.
Scar, is it Scar? No, that's his son.
Yeah. Sakaar. Yeah. He's constantly trying to find ways to get off Sakaar, and he's always looking for something. I love that. He's being resourceful. Like, they try to take the Quinjet, but Hulk destroys the Quinjet. He's trying to talk to people and get to know people, to get people to relate to him. That way they can take him off. But he ends up, going with Loki and taking one of the party ships up again. This is one joke that I just, again, it was hilarious the first time, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, why did we call it that? Why is it called the Devil's Anus? Like, it's so stupid. It's just so dumb. Like, and like, I smile because, yeah, it's hilarious. Haha, it's called the Devil's Anus. But, like, why? What, like, you could have, we're just doing things just to do things right now. That is an example of a joke which led to the failure of Love and Thunder. Because, like, that's how we get stupid things like goats screaming the entire movie. When we get to that is I'm gonna go on a full on rant, because I just think it's the dumbest thing that the MCU has ever done.
Let's get to the structure of the movie, man.
Yeah,
so it starts off with Thor versus Surtur, and Thor's in I guess hell, or their version of hell, where he goes to see Surtur, and it's funny. It starts out with him talking to himself. Then all of a sudden, he's chained and imprisoned in this contraption, and it unfolds. It rolls to the bottom, and we see before him Surtur, and Surtur is monologuing in the middle. As he's monologuing, the chain that Thor is on is turning clockwise, and Thor, of course, wants to see his face while he's talking. So he's like, wait a minute, hold on. And then he's like, all right, go ahead. What were you saying? And then, Surtur keeps monologuing, and then he does it again. He's like, wait a minute, hold on. And he does it twice.
Mhm.
And to me, it was comical because it's like, here's this dude, and he's like, you're in hell, and and Thor's not worried at all, right? And we find out that Thor is on a mission because he's been having dreams about Ragnarok, and and so he's on a fact-finding mission to find out how to stop it. And as as all villains do, right? Surtur's talking, and Surtur, tells him, and he's like, so all I have to do is knock that crown off your head and take it back to what's their home place called?
Asgard.
Asgard. Take it back to Asgard. Cool, got it. And all of a sudden, Thor springs into action. Well, he's like, and I'm ready to go now. And he's like, hold on. Wait a minute. Is he's waiting on the hammer, right? Which I loved. I thought that was great. I really did think that was great. What was that? Hey, hold on one second. I'm gonna pause this right this. Okay, guys, we're back. Sorry, we had a few technical difficulties, but Jordan, let's get into this conversation that he has with Surtur. So he's been having these dreams of Ragnarok and the destruction of his planet, and it is kind of foreshadowing. Well, it's not kind of; it is foreshadowing of things to come. And I think a large part of this movie is sometimes we have to embrace our fate rather than fight it. I think a large part of this movie is, look, there are things that are going to happen that you can know you don't want them to happen, and you can do everything to prevent them from happening. But if they happen, now you have to live in it and function and move forward. And I think that is a large part of what the writers are trying to say at this, or at least they're my thoughts. But give me your first thoughts on Thor versus Surtur, this encounter, and how Surtur in the beginning is the antagonist, but towards the end ends up being a default protagonist because he prevents something worse from happening. Just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I like this. So this is something that we've been seeing since Age of Ultron, really since Thor took, I don't know how to say this in a better way. He took a bath and got visions. Like I don't know, how you want me to, how else you want me to say it. But he's had visions, and especially after Wanda played with his mind, that only screwed around with that even more.
Right.
That like this is going to happen. Now, when I heard that it was going to be called Thor Ragnarok, and like most people did at Comic-Con, Ragnarok means the end of days, and when everybody sees Thor Ragnarok, we think that this could be the very last time we get Thor. And people were kind of on edge when this movie was announced. Then I saw the poster and trailer, and I was thoroughly confused. Because I'm like, this does not feel like a movie that they could kill off Thor in, especially a comedy. Like, it felt like we were too comedic in the trailers for it to be like, okay. I was expecting like a Marvel version of like an end of the world movie, like 2012 or Armageddon. So with Ragnarok, like, I thought going into this, I was like, oh crap, there's gonna be a lot of people dying, and a lot of people did die. But like, I also think the comedic relief kind of sheltered us from like a lot of the deaths, and it like underplayed a lot of deaths of characters we've seen in the first two Thor movies.
The Warriors 3.
Yes. Like, I feel like that got underplayed because of the comedic value in this. I think the one death, in my opinion, that I think played out perfectly was Odin's death. I think Odin's death was done in a great way, and we'll get to that later. But um, I mean, him and Surtur, you said it right. Like, this movie is more about like accepting that things are gonna happen, whether we like it or not, and we got to be able to
Transition.
yes, transition. So I it's I didn't think we were going to see Surtur right away when I saw this movie. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to start off right here. Like, this is very interesting. Now, Thor clearly hasn't been on Asgard in a very long time, probably since the Dark World, and since then, Loki's taken over. So, yeah, a lot's been going on. There's I mean, even though there's like a 3-year gap between these movies, it almost feels like a 10-year gap in
It
between
does.
Ragnarok
It
and
really
Dark World.
does. It really does.
Especially like that's pre Age of Ultron, and this is right before Infinity War.
Right.
So, yeah, there's a mixed bag when it comes to the idea of when this movie initially was announced to the product we got. But ultimately, it became this beautiful creation of like all this stuff that made this one of the best versions of Thor that we've ever gotten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think the fake Odin was, it's funny. I mean, it's still kind of funny in that Loki is so self-aggrandizing because he still seeks validation. A large part of his issue is he never felt validated. He wants the pomp and circumstance. He wants people to uplift him, which is why he should never be king, because he wants it. He needs the adoration. And to truly be a good leader, you have to serve. And serving flies in the face of self-aggrandizing. Serving flies in the face of wanting to be praised. It's the total opposite. But anyway, I thought that was entertaining. And of course, Thor shows up and he's like, all right, where's Dad? You know what I mean? Enough with the games. And they go to Earth, or what do they call it? Middle Earth? What do they call it? Midgard?
Midgard. Yeah.
They go to Midgard or Earth, and Loki's like, well, this is where I left him. And of course, there's some teenage girls, and they're like, oh, can we take a picture with you, Thor? And they totally ignore Loki, right? And this is something that I kind of wanted to get into, because this is a large part of Loki's problem, is that he's always been in Thor's shadow. I'm going to be honest with you, and when I say this, I'm going to ultimately say pause, but Loki's not a bad-looking dude, but he just pales in comparison to Thor. These women don't even see Loki. They're just like, oh my God, can we take a picture with you? And Loki is ignored, right? And that is essentially a microcosm of Loki's life. It's always been in Thor's shadow.
This isn't even the most frustrating. That's not even the most frustrating part. You're saying like he's not a bad-looking dude. This is a terrorist. This guy wanted to enslave the human race.
He did.
And I'm sorry if I saw. I can't even say his name on YouTube. The dude who started World War II. You can't even say his name on YouTube. That's how crazy it is. If I saw him in person, I'd be like, police, police, like someone, la policia, like somebody, somebody grab a gun and shoot this dude. Like,
But do you think they recognized him though? I don't think they did.
recognize Thor, and Thor, they recognize Thor,
Right, but they didn't
and
recognize Loki. They did not recognize him.
and that, but that's, all right.
You make a good point, but I'm saying I don't think they recognized him. Even though he did one of the worst things imaginable, doesn't that make it work? They don't even recognize him.
You're in New York City. Someone should recognize you. You are in the middle of New York City. And someone should be able to see that a terrorist, that someone who wanted to do. That's why I'm glad they had the whole Doctor Strange thing happen, because at least someone was very like caring about the world. Like, but
I'm calling for 30 minutes.
I thought about that the first time I saw it. I was like, is anyone going to acknowledge the fact that this is the first time Loki's been back on Earth since he tried to enslave the human race? Like, hello, like, and like, it's not like Thor. All right, it's not everybody recognized Thor, but Thor's also not in like his normal attire, so he's trying to make it look, and neither's Loki. So they're trying to make it look a little like less conspicuous. But like, come on, someone. If luckily he's dead. If I saw Osama bin Laden down the street, I'd be freaking out too. I'd probably come on. Like that, it just
you can say Osama's name, but you cannot say he who shall not be named.
Yeah, I can apparently. That's, I don't make the rules. That's YouTube. I know, very odd, especially like when I know a lot of content creators who make videos for educational purposes and they still can't say his name, which is again very odd, because I think that's part of world history. Even the most psychotic people in world history should be discussed so that we don't repeat those same actions for the future. Anyways, yeah, like, I'm sorry. There's no way in this world I would let that slide. There's no, and all the people walking by, I'm like, I'd be like, oh yeah, Thor, like, hi, hello, like, get him away, go away.
But what does that tell you though?
I don't know what it tells me. It tells me everybody's stupid.
Well, it tells you that clearly Loki has really not been publicized that much, because to your point, if he was, folks would have recognized, oh my God, you're Beelzebub.
Jane did, and Jane never met Loki in the first Thor movie, or she never met Loki in the first Thor movie. She was told about him. And in Dark World, she immediately walks up to him and slaps him across his face and says, that's for New York.
Yeah, but she also has a close connection with Thor, so I would imagine they've been talking.
But how does he know what he looks like? Do you ever go up to people and be like, yeah, Eric is like, he's 6'3", he currently has this face. Oh, by the way, this is my brother Eric. Yeah, like right here. Like, yeah. Like, do you think they got cameras on Asgard because they paint everything? Everything is in their art and stuff. There's no way he's like holding up
weird, right? Let's can we for just a second juxtapose that and talk about how they are ahead of us in technology, but they don't use it. You know what I mean? How they they're supposedly ahead of us in technology, but they paint everything. Like, who does that? Not only that, but when Hela comes to life, they have ships with lasers and advanced weaponry. It didn't work on her, but it's just kind of weird. That's always been like a weird dynamic with me. Like, they even say in Thor that, our technology, we've embraced science and magic, and we understand all of that, but it just doesn't. We don't. Their weaponry to me still looks primitive. I mean, yeah, you've got Thor's hammer and Mjolnir and what it can do and all of that, but by and large, for the most part, your typical soldier who's in Asgard is not going to be toting an M16. He's not going to be toting an AK-47. He's still fighting with swords. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird to me.
I think all of human history can be pointed to that too. Like, I mean, you think about it this way, like, how were the pyramids actually made in such a short period of time? That is pretty much impossible for that time period. Same thing with, like, you look at, like, the war, which, I mean, now we call it the 300 War, where their weaponry was, I mean, they literally were slingshotting like boulders, and we don't do that anymore. But even I imagine us making slingshots with boulders right now. Like, do you know how hard that would be?
Yeah.
Like, but we got tanks now, so that's fine. So we don't need to do that. But, and I'm sure 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, they'll probably be like, how were we able to make sliced bread, but we couldn't make like this, and proceeds to name some advanced technology. Like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, there's certain things they don't care to like make cameras, because why? Because who cares? And plus, the art looks nice. Yeah, it like
the art looks nice.
Like, when you look at Michelangelo's paintings, you're not saying to yourself like, oh wow, like, imagine if you had a camera. Like, no, it's like a nice way of, like, it's a different and nice way of representing something. And it's just the way of the times. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. I mean, it's the same way with, like, it's and now we see a lot more change with the internet, and we see more now. It's trends, like what is trending in terms of like well, I'm a marketing person, and I look at what is trending in terms of photo editing. So now, what photo editing was a year from now is different than it is now. What it was 10 years from now is different a year from now. It's like every year something is changing. Someone's adding more like shadows to certain areas. Someone's adding more blues, more greens, more, or some like old like artistic designs to certain photos. That's just, we see more change nowadays than we did. I mean, 100 years from now, there was little change over the course of 10 years versus there's so much change over the course of maybe even a month now, all because of the internet. But yeah, so I mean, they're very old school with certain things, but it also doesn't seem like they want to change very much. And we can tell by like their books and stuff, they still write in books. They don't have the internet or anything, but then they proceed to have like medical, like 3D, like basically like x-rays or CT scans of like just floating over there. I'm thinking about like when Jane was scanned in Dark World.
They can teleport to other realms. So you got the technology to do, like, it just, I don't know. It's
but you can't make a camera.
It is incongruent to me. Logically, it's just.
In the words of Ed Sheeran, you don't need a camera to capture the moment.
Understood. Yes. Understood. I get it.
Or camera. All
right, let's talk about when they go to see Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange he puts Loki in this portal where he's like falling for 30 minutes, which I think is hilarious.
I love that.
He totally deserves it. And boy, I tell you what, Loki is barking up the wrong tree because he's like, "Oh, you wait a minute" or whatever. And Doctor Strange's like, "I ain't got time for this," and sends them both through a portal because they're looking for their dad. It's funny just his encounter with Thor and how he's like, "Well, do you like tea? What do you like?" And he's like, "I don't really drink tea." And
Yeah,
then
he's like, he
taps
gets
it.
so angry. He's like, I
Yeah,
don't drink tea.
I don't drink.
like,
And he
all right,
taps it and
what's your
gives him
problem with
beer.
tea?
And Thor's like, okay, now he starts drinking the beer, and then he keeps positioning himself to where he's messing with Thor because he keeps changing the landscape of, and Thor's like, wait, what's going on? And then finally he's like, well, your dad's here. Go ahead and get your umbrella. And he's like, okay, and Thor puts his hand out, and it is tearing up everything in Doctor Strange's domicile, like just knocking over this and knocking over that. And Thor has his look on his face, like, all right, dude, you're tearing up his place. Come on, Hammer, hurry up, let's go. And it's just funny. I like the way they did that. And then as he's about to walk through, he's like, and my brother, and he's like, oh yeah. And opens the portal, and Thor's like, Loki's like, I've been falling for 30 minutes. And he's like, well, something, but we clearly see that Doctor Strange is not a fan of Loki. And Loki decides to get his knives out and come at him. And it's funny because Doctor Strange is like, I don't have time for this, and sends them through the portal. And they are both there, and they are waiting on Odin. And of course, as brothers do, they blame each other. Thor's like, this is your fault, da 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 da, and they're getting mad at each other. And all of a sudden, they see Odin, and Odin is he's at peace. He's at the end of his journey, and he's like, hello, my sons, how are you? And Thor starts talking to him about Ragnarok, and Odin's like, oh yeah, it's already begun. Don't worry, it's gonna happen. There's nothing you can do to stop it. He's like, what are you talking about? I dealt with it this morning. I went and got the crown from Surtur, and we're good. And he's like, no, Surtur's not your problem. And he's like, what? He's like, well, it's your sister. Our sister? Who? And this is where, as I'm watching this, I did kind of put on my inner Jordan, because that's a foul thing to do on your deathbed. That is a very, very, very foul thing to do on your deathbed. Now, with that being said, I still don't think it's as bad as, killing your adopted daughter's parents in front of her, or even killing her to further your agenda. No, I don't think it's that bad. But I will give you, it is bad. It is very bad. That is so bad to be like, yeah, you have a sister, and you know what? I've been the only thing holding her from getting to you, and I'm about to die. So you're going to have your hands full. But by the way, I love you, my sons, and peace. And then he just evaporates. And then Thor and Loki start beefing, and Thor's about to beat up Loki. And he's like, you did this. And all of a sudden, here comes Hela. And let me tell you something. The actress who plays Hela, I loved her performance.
Kate Blanchett.
She was great.
Yeah, she's
great.
great.
She was spot on. I thought she was outstanding. She comes through here, and she's like, well, you don't look like him. And then she's talking to Thor. And then Loki says something, and she's like, but you sound like him.
That's confusing. That's confusing.
and Thor gets ready, and he like throws his hammer. And this for me is the defining moment of this movie, because she puts her hands up, not only catches his hammer, but stops it, stops the momentum. You know how powerful you have to be to do that. And not only that, but you have to be worthy of the hammer to do that. You have to be not only strong, you have to be worthy of the hammer to stop it. Because no matter how strong she is, if you're not worthy, the hammer's just it's gonna carry you. You're not gonna be able to stop it. So for you to be able to stop the hammer's momentum and destroy it, you have to be worthy of it, which says a lot. Because again, worthiness of the hammer doesn't mean that you're a good person. Doesn't mean it says whomsoever be worthy. It doesn't say whomsoever be good. It just says whomsoever be worthy. So for her to be able to stop the hammer's momentum and destroy it, to me says A, she's worthy, and B, she is extremely capable. And Thor sees this, and Loki's like, we gotta go. Loki sees this, and Loki's like, if she can do that to your hammer, we have no chance, buddy. And in that moment, I don't think they do have a chance. I really don't. I think if they take her on in that moment, they both die that day. And Loki has the good common sense to see this. And he, what do you call that thing that Heimdall beams down? What do you call it?
I don't remember what it is called.
Anyway, the teleport device or whatever, they hop in it and they're trying to go to Asgard, and she hops in it behind them and throws them out of the path, sending them to Sakaar. Right?
All right. I wanna there's a lot to unpack here.
All right.
There's a lot to all right.
So go ahead.
We're gonna start with when they meet Odin. Well, actually, I'm gonna start with Doctor Strange because real quick, the best comic accurate Doctor Strange we have ever gotten in live action is this cameo in Thor Ragnarok. We get the gloves, we have everything. The gloves were what he's missing. I don't know why he just wears gloves this day, but the gloves were what he was missing for a more comic accurate Doctor Strange. But this is the most comic accurate Doctor Strange we've ever gotten in live action, and it's beautiful. Then we go to when they see Odin. This whole scene, I love how beautiful this scene is. This scene really, it is so emotionally driven, and like we know how much Odin means to. I don't know, when you go back and rewatch, when you watch Ragnarok by itself, it's a very emotionally and well done scene. Especially if you were to go and watch Dark World. If you're watching the Thor movies in order, you see it. But when you're watching the whole MCU, you're like, Odin's done a lot of bad things to both these two, and I think all three of them have been bad. But in the end, they're together. Like, this is still an emotionally driven scene. And I like it. And then you bring up Hela, and I'm like, wait, what? You're on your deathbed, and you're gonna bring up Hela? Okay, whatever.
There's this secret.
And the one thing I want to bring up, I'm gonna quote one of the greatest villains of the entire MCU. Oh, and let me make sure I get this right when I say this. I'm gonna quote Michael B. Jordan from his Killmonger. Let me make sure I get this right. He said, "Death is better than bondage." I want to make that very clear. So, you know what Odin decided to do? He put his daughter in a prison that for basically eternity, or however long he would be alive. And then when he dies, he's just gonna be like, screw everybody, whatever. I'll let everybody else figure it out after I die. Like, buddy, what? Like, so, all right. If you were to ask people, would they rather die or be in an eternal prison? I think 99.9% of people you ask are going to say they'd rather die. I'm one of those people. And I've heard that from many, many people that they would rather die than go to prison. That's my take. So you know what he did? He decided to put his own daughter in an eternal prison of darkness. Anyways, that's my take.
He couldn't control her. I mean,
Death
you
is better than
are.
bondage. Yeah, so kill her. Death is better than bondage, but like instead of torturing her for just a little bit of time, you tortured her for an eternity, leaving her in just straight up darkness.
Maybe he didn't
And
have
this
the
was
heart to kill her.
he basically enslaved every single realm with Hela. Um, up like with that's what the art that they show later on just only adds to how I feel about Odin, that I'm like, wow, you were not a good person. You were not only a bad father, you were not a good person at all. And I
Was
don't
he
even
a
know how
good,
you got married twice.
was he a good king though? Because oftentimes
um,
a king is
yeah.
not necessarily a good person.
Oh, yeah, he was a great king, but in a dictator, I wouldn't call him king. I'd call him dictator. I would call Odin definitely a dictator.
Did the people prosper under him? Did
Yes,
societies grow and flourish under him?
but in the same way, do you remember when in Endgame when Thanos says he'll wipe out the whole universe and start over from scratch,
Because
and
nobody would
and
remember.
yeah, and Steve said they would be born of blood, and he said they would never know it. The exact same thing happens. Odin actually does it, and nobody knows how all of Asgard's people are thriving over the blood that spilt with Hela and Odin making Asgard what it is today.
As a matter of
To this
fact,
point.
he literally covers it up.
Yes,
He
yes,
literally covers it up.
that's insane. You are
Yeah.
on Thanos level insanity, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you are a bad person. So yes, I would call him a dictator. I would absolutely call, like, he's a bad dude. Odin is a Odin is unknowingly one of the biggest villains in the entire MCU. The difference is we don't watch it. The difference is we are seeing the end of his days. We are
Right.
not seeing his tyranny. We are like, I mean, like,
would you call him a villain now though? Like this version of Odin, would you call him?
I wouldn't call him a hero.
But
I mean,
would you call him a villain? Because
I wouldn't
right?
call him either.
Hela even says he began to value life. He wanted to be a benevolent king. He had enough of killing.
He was old. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing that Thanos kind of goes through with Endgame. He, like, the past Thanos that we see in Endgame that comes back, he sees what his future ends up being, and he realizes he needs to change his idea of what he wants to do and just start the universe over from scratch, because that is the only way that he says that people will be able to understand, people will be able to prosper and thrive, or something.
He says that's the only way people will accept it.
Yes,
as long as there
and
are
I'm like,
around from the old guard.
Yeah.
Right.
And look,
even in the Bible, you will see God tell his people, go in and kill everything. Man, woman, child, dog. Because if you leave anything, right, then you will still have a tie back to that society, those people who are against me, those people who didn't live by my doctrine, and they will rise up against you, which is basically what Thanos is saying. I'm not going to leave anybody this time. There will be nobody left to tell us.
And that's both are insane behavior with Odin and Thanos. Like,
Okay.
you like the difference, like Odin, and this is where I feel like we need I think I said this during the first or second Thor review, where I wanted a TV series, a Disney Plus series that kind of focuses on Asgard, where we see a young Thor and Loki. We could add to that mythology, and we could better understand. I want to understand Odin more. And like, I know a lot of people would be like, why do we need that? Because I feel like I don't understand this character, and I hate this character a lot. And I feel like you could build a show where it's like I'm more understanding of what he's doing, even though I don't like it. I just, or maybe a not an anthology series, but like each episode is like a different era, kind of like Eyes of Wakanda, but I do think they should do it in live action, where you expand different eras of like Wakanda, but this time with Asgard. You do like an Eyes of Asgard. So call it Eyes of Asgard. There you go. There's your money. I want it. I want my name on the script, and I want to get paid royalties for that.
Okay.
Where we are going through the eras, because I would love to know this whole situation. What made him change? And I think here's my take. I think he got done ruling all of the realms. He got everything he wanted from all the realms. And he's like, all right, I'm bored. I'm just going to like go sit on the couch and watch Sunday Night Football and call it a day. Like he's just going to retire. That's basically what he did. And
I think he got tired of the killing.
I think
two things happened. One, I think he got tired of the killing, and I think when he looked at his daughter and what she had become, it disgusted him. Because she got to the point she was just killing for the sake of killing. She liked it. Even Thanos, when he goes to kill people, is not in love. He's doing it for a purpose. Yeah. He's just not killing just to kill. He's doing it for a purpose. Hela is essentially Mistress Death in Marvel Comics, right? I'd be interested to see if Thanos and Hela could actually fall in love in the MCU, because she's basically Mistress Death from Marvel Comics. She is in love with death. She is in love with killing. Her entire purposes is just to bring death and destruction to every universe possible. And to realize that you sired that you basically contributed to creating this, not only physically, but you created this monster. I gotta believe he was like, nah, I don't want to kill you, but I'm gonna put you in a place where it's like Superman in the Phantom Zone. I'm gonna put you in a place where you can't hurt anybody, right? And I think a large part of the reason he dealt with Thor and Loki the way he did is because of Hela. It's because he did not want them to become like her, right? I'm telling you, as parents, we do that. You see the mistake that you made with the first child, and you're like, I'm not going to do that again. And sometimes that can lead for you to make mistakes with child's 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Because wisdom is not free. A lot of times it costs things. A lot of times you have to go through mistakes and trials and tribulations to get wisdom, to understand, certain things just have a cost, right? Anyway, we're getting way off track.
I'm gonna continue to go to the next part. When Hela gets freed, Cate Blanchett is amazing in this role. She's a fantastic actress.
I love her.
And she's almost unrecognized. Like I've seen her in so many other things that it almost feels like she's unrecognizable in this role. But she loves Hela. Like Cate Blanchett has talked so much about Hela. She voices Hela in What If. Like she truly loves this character, and I love when an actor takes on a character from a comic book, and they don't inherently like start off saying like I want to be that character, but then they suddenly like want to embody that character. Yeah. Like Robert Downey Jr. is one of those people. Like he didn't want to be Iron Man, but now it's like he embodies him.
Right.
Like anytime he goes out, he just embodies him. Thor, same thing. And Chris Hemsworth as Thor, same thing.
Right.
Just some people, like, they just fall in love with a character, and then they just look. Loki and Tom Hiddleston, same exact thing. They love that character so much, and Kate Blanchett loves this character so much. And I mean, as soon like she just has a screen presence as Hela. That's like, okay, every time I see her, I'm like, yeah. And she totally plays like a sister of Thor and Loki. I can totally see it. The way her mannerisms, like she has that like sneaky charisma of
Mhm.
Loki while having the power and brute like war mentality of Thor.
Right.
And you can totally tell that they're all siblings, and they've like, even though they didn't grow up together.
Right.
Now, I don't think she's worthy. I think when he throws the hammer, it's sort of one of those things that like, why does she's just kind of like, she's not holding it, she's just blocking it because the hammer is just going to go straight. It's not going to come down like
Why is she able to block it though? She
because
should
I
be
mean
able to
because
stop
she's
it
because she is powerful, because she is very
Jesus.
powerful.
You
I
can
don't
be as
think she's
powerful as
worthy.
you want to be. You should not be able to stop the momentum of that
and
hammer.
and
That
that's
to
where
me
she's
denotes
so
worthiness.
powerful. But I don't think she's worth. And she, I mean, it's they talked about this that the only people that are worthy to this point are Thor and well, I'm talking like post Endgame and Captain America. Right now, those are the only two worthy, and Iron Man. Iron Man would have been worthy at the point where he thought between the point that he knew he had to snap his fingers and the moment he snapped his fingers. That's when he would have been worthy. But those three characters are notably, by all the writers, directors, everybody at Marvel Studios, those three are the worthy characters at this moment in time. But I don't think she's worthy. I think it's one of those things that it's like, okay, why doesn't the hammer go through the earth? Like, why doesn't the hammer, like, it's when, like, if you were to stop a train, if you were to stop a train, like, the train's probably going to go right through you. I mean, in the same way at the beginning of this, when Thor's holding Loki, when he's Odin, by the neck, and he's basically telling him the hammer is going to go through you, and it's not going to stop until it gets to my hand. It's more of like a straight on thing. Like, he throws the hammer, and it would have, if it, for a normal person, it would have gone right through them and then circled back. It would have. She's not holding it up. She's just blocking it from going through her. And that's denoting how just powerful she is, that she goes beyond any sort of magic. Which, I mean, that is what Mjolnir is magic. That's why it does the things that it does. So I don't think it denotes worthiness. It's just, it shows, like, I mean, she's the goddess of death. And that's why she's able to break it too, is that she is that powerful, that she goes beyond any sort of Thor and Loki are also that powerful. But to this point, like you say, like, if they were to fight then and there, they would have both died. I agree with that. But
the internet agrees with you. Google agrees with you. Google says no, Hela is not worthy of Thor's hammer in the MCU. While she easily stops holes and shatters Mjolnir in Thor Ragnarok, she achieves this by brute force and her immense inherent power, which allows her to overpower Odin's enchantment. And so it does agree with you.
Thor would have been that. I think Thor started to be that powerful after this movie. At the end of this movie is when he realizes that he doesn't need the hammer. That's when he realized, that's when he got to that version of Hela in terms of power set. And Loki, I think, got to that at the end of Loki season 2. In fact, I think Loki at the end of Loki season 2 is more powerful than any character that we have. I think that version of Loki is the most powerful being that we've ever seen on TV. That is something when we get to Loki. I have a lot of very strong opinions about Loki season 1 and 2. I love that series so much. And I do believe that is the most powerful being we've gotten. I know a lot of people are going to say Wanda, Wanda, Wanda. No, Loki at the end of Loki season 2 is, in my opinion, I mean, he's literally holding the multiverse in his hands. Like, what? That's how powerful he is. Forget, he could probably put Mjolnir and turn Mjolnir into a freaking banana. Like, that's how powerful he is. So, like, I think he's like 100 billion times stronger than Hela is at this point. By the end of Loki season 2. Now, this version of Loki would have never stood a chance against Hela. Like you said, they both would have died. And yeah, I love. I don't know how I feel about Mjolnir getting destroyed, in general, but I do like how it's circled back to in Love and Thunder. It's one thing Love and Thunder I think does great is, like, I didn't want the hammer to be completely destroyed because if you could have used it for other instances, like we did. It was used again because of time travel in Endgame, and it was used again in Love and Thunder when it was brought back together for Jane. Like, we could have kept using the hammer, and it was very clear that we would keep using the hammer. And I also think, like, Mjolnir is about worthiness, but people can inherently carry his axe. I forget what the heck it's called. It's slipping my mind right now. But like, anybody can carry that. But that's not about worthiness. Mjolnir is different. Like, that's why you see Thanos, like, blocking his axe.
Stormbreaker,
Yes, thank you. That's why you see Thanos holding Stormbreaker and preventing it from trying to, like, cut his head off. Like, people can carry that. Groot carries it, and people are like, "Oh, that's Groot's. That means Groot's worthy." No, Stormbreaker is completely different than Mjolnir. Mjolnir is about worthiness, and it's like Mjolnir. Stormbreaker is Thor's power. Mjolnir is Odin's power. So it is, again, it's all about worthiness. And yeah, I think I don't know how every time I watch this, I have different opinions on whether they should have destroyed Mjolnir or not. In fact, the setting of this in the trailer was completely different, because in the trailer, they're in a street in New York when she destroys Mjolnir. Because Odin is like a homeless bum instead of just in the middle of, I think that's Ireland. I'm not too sure, but they don't really say. But I'm pretty sure they said they filmed it in Ireland, so my guess is that's off a cliff in Ireland. So yeah, I don't know. That's my opinions. A lot of things happen in these scenes, but yeah, then Loki, he says, like, since we don't have Heimdall, which very weird. Like, I love Heimdall. I love Idris Elba as Heimdall. It's just kind of weird not having him there, and we have Carl Urban's character in it, which is funny, knowing that he would be on The Boys later on after this. And it just feels like we are on a side quest. I would love to know more about Heimdall. Maybe have a little again, Asgard show. You could do more stuff with Heimdall. I'm spitting out money, bro. Like, I just pay me royalties. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on, and then again, she's so powerful that she knocks Loki and Thor out of the stream that's going to Asgard, and just kicks them off, and that's how they end up in Sakaar.
So let's talk about their arrival to Sakaar and how, of course, Loki gets there a few weeks before Thor, and has made his necessary alignments with the necessary people. He's vying for power. He's moving up the chain, and all of a sudden, Thor comes in, and he is essentially sold into slavery by Valkyrie, ironically. And I just thought the way that they started, welcome, you are here. You are so lucky that you've landed here and you are totally free, but you are property of XYZ, da 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 da, and welcome. And all of a sudden he's like, what happened? And you see the person before him and he's like, I'm sorry what I did, cousin. And he's like, yeah, you think I'm really going to kill you? You're okay. I'm just going to invite you to never be alive again. And he touches him with the stick of death or whatever that is. And this guy turns into this disgusting blob of former flesh with an awful smell. And this is Thor's first realization that he's in this world. And it's like, wow. And, he's thrown into the pit that essentially you can't get out of because it's this mystical circle that you just keep running around and you can't get out of it. And he meets, is it Korg? Is it Korg?
Korg. I'm Korg.
Korg.
I like rock. I'm made of rocks. I'm Korg.
I love that's great.
I love doing it. I love doing a Korg impersonation. It's so fun because he's like, and Taika Waititi voices Korg. He's like, I'm Korg. I'm made of rocks, and don't come at with me. What does he say? Don't come at me with paper because that'll hurt. But scissors, I'll break scissors. He says like a rock. He's like, that's a rock paper scissors joke. he's so like, I love Korg. There's one thing of these two movies. I love Korg. Korg's such a new character that's so stupid, but I love it so much because he's just like, all right. I remember seeing in the trailers, people are like, "Oh, is this a thing like reference and stuff like that?" No, Korg is his own character. He's made of rocks. I'm Korg. Don't come at me with paper.
That's what he does.
If you come at me with scissors, I will beat scissors. Rock paper. That's a rock paper scissors joke.
He forewarns Thor what it's like to fight the champion, and he was like, "Oh, you're fighting the champion? Okay, well, nice knowing you. I appreciate you." And Thor ends up fighting him, and when Hulk comes out, he's like, "Oh my God, I know him from work. That's great." And this is where we really get to see who the Hulk is, because the Hulk knows it's Thor. And for a second, the Hulk kind of thinks, should I give him a pass? I mean, I am the Hulk. I'm the champion. And then he turns and looks towards the crowd, right? And they're all Hulk, Hulk, Hulk. And he is loved here. Mm-hmm. And what we realize in this movie at this point in his life is Hulk is tired of the hate that he receives on Earth. This is a place where he feels like he belongs. He gets to beat up people and kill them, and they cheer for him. It's got to be great. And this is kind of going through his mind, you know what I mean? As, how I should approach him or whatever. And Thor's like, come on, man. We know each other. We're the Avengers, whatever. And Hulk thinks about it, and ultimately he's like, you know what? We're not on Earth. And I'm going to have to fight you. And this is kind of human nature and what human beings will do in different situations. If they're back on Earth, in no way does Hulk fight Thor in this situation. But in a situation where they're on planet Hulk or Sakaar, and he is being championed for this, and everybody is okay with it, then he rolls along with it. And they begin to fight and go at it. And Thor keeps going. Come on, man. Come on, Banner. Come on. But again, even in this, we see that even though the Hulk is very strong, Thor is a prodigious fighter. Thor is thousands of years old, and he's been a warrior for thousands of years old. So when it comes to it up close in combat, Thor is going to dominate that. And he does. And Banner just keeps, coming back and smacking him around and doing all this stuff. And what's so interesting is even though Odin has transitioned, Odin plays a large part in this entire movie, in this entire plot, because when things are up against it, Thor in his mind always goes back to his encounters with his father. And his father's like, huh, here you go. And all of a sudden, it's like Thor remembers, oh, wait a minute. You know what? I can shock the hell out of Bruce. And his eyes go white, and he becomes the god of thunder. And he starts to whoop the Hulk's, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going bad. And who is Jeff Goldblum's character? The what's his name?
The Grandmaster.
The Grandmaster sees this, and I guess has money on it, and activates the power inhibitor or the power suppressant on his neck, and Thor loses the battle. But Thor really doesn't lose the battle. Thor whooped up on the Hulk, and the Hulk knows this, and everybody who saw it knows this. But
and small scene, there's a small scene with Loki, where there's two parts. Loki sees Hulk, and he's like, he immediately starts to walk away, and
I gotta go.
And Grandmaster's like, "Where are you going? It's about to start." And then Hulk does the same, like, throwing of Thor that Hulk did to Loki in the first Avengers movie.
And Loki's like, yes!
Loki's like, yes, that's how it feels. And he's like, I just love this sport. That's funny. I that's so hilarious. This is one of the best scenes of the whole movie, because it's like, that was so funny in the first Avengers movie.
It was
because it came out of nowhere, and he's just it's in the middle of a Loki monologue, and the Hulk just grabs him and just starts tossing, pauses, then keeps doing it, and then says puny god. So it was so funny.
And the look on Loki's face afterward when he did that, Loki was so done. The fight was over. Loki was done. He was like, he's
and you do it again, but with Thor, it's just still so funny. You bringing up a reference that, if you don't like, you're watching these movies, and that was such a funny scene, and you're doing it again, and it's they did such a great job. And then I just love that Loki was in, because if you don't add Loki into that, it's just not as funny. It's like it's like almost like people be like, it looks like the reference. But Loki just encourages it. It's like, yes, that's how it feels.
That's how it feels, right? And I think it's great, man. But it's interesting. So in the next scene, we see Thor and Hulk, and they're kind of Thor's like, I beat you, and Hulk's like, no, you didn't. Horrible. And Thor's like, no, I did, or whatever. And Thor's trying to get him to come with him to Asgard, and Hulk is like, "Oh, go ahead and leave," not knowing that, or Thor not knowing that there's this trap in place. And he gets shocked, and Hulk laugh, and then he says to Thor, home," meaning, "You're all right, man. You can, you know what I mean? Look, I'm sorry, whatever. We're good. You can stay here." And but they kind of have this powwow that's needed. And he's trying to get Hulk to come help with him, and Hulk resists, and he's like, Hulk, that's why Earth hates you, or whatever. They're in an argument, and Hulk, you can see Hulk he's hurt by this, right? Because it's like, how you argue with somebody and you say something, and you realize when you say it that you've gone too far, because it stung him, right? And he's like, I didn't mean that, man. He was like, you're not the dumb Hulk. You're not the dumb Avenger, whatever. And they really start to have a conversation. And Hulk says, he's like, but you can't, Thor says to him, you can't just throw shields and helmets and stuff. That could have really hurt me. And Hulk's like, I know, but I just get so angry. I don't know why. But I really believe we are beginning to witness the separation through this character arc of Banner and Hulk. Mm-hmm. I think this is where it starts. I think the whooping that he takes in the Infinity War, and the reason he didn't come out for Banner, is because he's beginning to not trust Banner, right? Let's look at it. He's been Hulk for 2 years. He's been champion for 2 years. He's been walking around for 2 years, And when he finally relaxes and comes back to Banner, Banner's like ship's law because he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what's going on. Even though there's been no communication. So Banner and Bruce, or Banner and Hulk, are literally starting to separate. They're starting to not trust each other. As a matter of fact, he says, I'm on a planet that stresses me out all the time, and the next time I become Hulk, I may not come back, which is a crisis of existence, right? And it says that there's been this constant battle, which if you read the comic, you know, between Banner and Hulk and their plane of existence. So I understand perfectly how we got to Professor Hulk, because that is the only way you could rationalize the duality of who you are. That's the only way the dichotomy of who you are can live in the same person, is if these two entities finally make peace, which is what happens in Endgame. That's the only way. That's why he doesn't come out, right? Because what I think is going on is in Infinity War, Hulk gets beat down. And we start to see this with Thor, right? We start to see this with Thor, because what's happening is, even though the Hulk is the Hulk, if we go back some years, the Hulk was largely a singular character, right? He didn't have anybody really to care about other than Betsy. But then he meets Tony and the Avengers and the group dynamic, and now he has to consider them and consider their feelings. And Hulk is becoming less brute and more of a person, right? All the while struggling with Banner. And so when Thor comes, I don't think Hulk initially wants to fight Thor, but he looks at the crowd and he's like, this is better than being back on Earth. To hell with it. I'm Hulk. This is what I do. I don't think he initially wants to fight Thor, right? And so I think he's going through this crisis of existence, which is why Thanos beats him in Infinity War. Because if Thanos had taken on Hulk from Planet Hulk, Thanos, Infinity Stone or not, would have gotten the bricks beat off of him.
I don't know about that.
I'm talking World War Hulk.
I don't know.
I'm so mad. Dude, he took on the Sentry.
Oh, no, all right. Man. I'm thinking more of like from just a movie perspective. I think even if you separated.
If you got one, I'm not talking about all six, but if you got just the Power Stone and you're taking on the Hulk and you can't go back in time, you gonna get you taking on World War Hulk.
All right, World War Hulk's very different. World War Hulk's very different. And I'm talking like if you separate the two and we get this version like Sakaar Hulk without Banner, I still think Thanos whoops Hulk. And I think he kills
Thanos probably does.
Even with no Infinity Stones. No Infinity Stones. No. Like I think Thanos is such a like Thanos is taller. They're about the same height, and probably Hulk might be way a little bit more, but Thanos is such a prestigious fighter that's what made it so scary and so threatening when we saw that in Infinity War, that we were like, oh crap. And he did it so easily.
He had the Power Stone already.
But he didn't use the Power Stone. That's the thing. You see, he just kind of otherwise it would have lit up. Otherwise it would have done something, but he didn't. He was like, all right, I'll take it. I can take you on myself. That's what's scary, is he didn't use it.
But what version of Hulk is he facing? Because understand, when Hulk loses to Thor, Hulk had never lost before. And Hulk knows he lost to Thor. So what I'm saying is there's something going on with the Hulk before he gets on that ship. There is a crisis of identity. What I'm saying is, if he takes on Hulk, even if he takes on Hulk before he's an Avenger, oh, I think that's a different fight. Because
I
there's no
don't.
doubt. There's no
I
connection.
I don't.
That's a
Here's the
different
thing.
fight.
Here's the thing. Thanos did that so easily. So, and I understand what you're saying with Banner. I think that's what held Hulk back from fighting better. But I don't. I don't think. I don't think there's any version of Hulk that we've gotten in live action that would have come close to beating Thanos.
Okay.
I think whether we can talk about Edward Norton's, we can talk about um, um, the Eric Bana's,
Eric Bana, yeah.
like any version of Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I don't think any of them will come close. And he whooped. Like it wasn't even that fight didn't even last a minute. I think if we go by what you're saying, if we separate the two and Hulk is on his own, I do think he holds a better fight.
Yeah.
That lasts over a minute. I still think Thanos will beat him. And I don't, and he didn't even use any of the stone. He had that's the crazy part. He had a stone. He didn't even use it. That's insane. That you were like, okay. Like, imagine looking at someone that's the same height as you, almost the same weight as you, and Thanos basically had one arm tied behind his back when he was fighting. I think if you tied one hand behind his back, I think he still beats Hulk. Like, think about it. When he walks up to Hulk, yeah, he catches him off guard in the same way that we've seen like Aaron Donald caught off guard by some random third string offensive tackle, or we've seen in JJ Watt get beat by some random offensive tackle. It's because it's just not expected. I've seen clips of this millions of times where we see a Hall of Famer that just one play they get beat and knocked to the ground. It just happens. We get caught off guard. But then the next time around, it's like, okay, all right, I'm just gonna run you over now. And they proceed to do that. We've seen Derrick Henry get tackled in the open field, and then the next play he's running over a man. Like Marshawn Lynch says, I'm not going to say the full quote, but he says, "Run through a."
Yeah.
Like it just happens, and Thanos gets caught off guard initially. He gets knocked to the ground, and he's just, and that's where like Thanos is like, I don't know, remember what his name is. Henchman is like, let him have his fun, and then immediately he's like
Ebony Maw. No,
yeah, Ebony Maw.
Let him have his fun.
Yeah, and then Thanos is like, all right, fine, and then immediately just starts whooping on him, and like he just goes karate chops his shoulder, like, and he just starts wailing on him like full speed, and it makes us realize that Hulk fights so slow and there's so much rage in him that he doesn't have any sort of, he is not a prestigious fighter at all. Right. He has no strategy at all.
He's just brute strength.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any version in live action that we've gotten. I do think World War Hulk. I will agree with you. I think
he would kill.
That's
he would kill.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be close.
But that's where he would probably need an Infinity Stone or multiple Infinity Stones to kind of help him out with that. But I even if you separate the two, and I think Hulk would have probably put up a better fight. I still think Thanos is probably still gonna whoop him. Like that was so insane. That was a great way to open up. I really hope that the Russo brothers do something similar to that at the start of Doomsday to showcase, because up to this point, we don't really see too much of Thanos in action. Like we've seen Thanos, we've seen him in a chair, but we haven't seen him get up from the chair, you lazy bum. And so our mentality of Thanos is like, okay, we we don't really know how strong this dude is, but him easily taking down a Hulk like that was like, whoa. And people want to argue that, like, oh, if Edward Norton's Hulk, it's the same Hulk, okay. Even if you took that version of the Hulk, there's no way in the world that he's beating
I don't.
Thanos.
I'm not gonna say he beats him,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's a 10, 20 minute fight. If that's Edward Norton's Hulk before that's a 10, 20 minute fight, because that is all anger. That
I
is, I
think
got nothing to lose. That is, let's go.
I
That is,
also
you
think
better use two arms, Thanos.
I also think that's a version of the Hulk that has not experienced like people outside of Earth. Like that's a pre-Avengers Hulk that doesn't understand that there are things that are a lot bigger and stronger than me. And I think over the course of that time, Hulk learned to adapt. That's like, oh, there are bigger thing than me. I need to be stronger. Like he became this. He became smarter because of that, and that's kind of what I see. I think there's more rage, but I also think there's less understanding.
Yeah, but his
Because of
powers
that.
grow with his rage. They are correlated together. So I'm just making the argument. I'm not saying he beat Thanos, but it'd be a lot better fight if he took on Edward Norton's Hulk. Like, that's a lot better fight.
I think because he doesn't understand that there are bigger fish, there are bigger fish in the sea, basically. I think there's a chance that Thanos kills that version of Hulk. In like like I like I like how I like that Hulk a lot. I like that Hulk more than this Hulk that we end up getting. But I also understand that this is a more experienced Hulk now. And to think that it's basically like, all right, 21-year-old it's basically like, would you rather have 21-year-old LeBron or 34-year-old LeBron? Like,
Okay.
it's like, okay, 34-year-old LeBron is peaking with all of his freaking triple doubles that he's getting.
And he's seasoned and he's
and
knowledgeable.
he's more seasoned and he's more knowledgeable. But 21-year-old Hulk is this just 21-year-old LeBron is just this like doing all these crazy stuff, and it's like, it's crazy to see, but you're also not getting the full picture of this team oriented LeBron. It's like, eventually this LeBron will be great. But he's not quite there yet. And it's the same, like, take that same argument, and if you put 21-year-old LeBron on the team that came back against the Warriors, I think there's no way in the world that they come back. In fact, I think there's a chance they get swept. That the Warriors sweep the Cavs if you put 21-year-old LeBron on that team.
Probably.
But that is arguably, for me, I do think the 2012-13 LeBron is the best version of LeBron I've ever seen, because there was just sheer dominance to him. But that's a debate for another day. But the other peak for LeBron is that year with the Cavs, and that is first. I mean, for a lot of people who understand basketball, that is the best Cavs version of LeBron that we've ever gotten, and he's not even in his 20s. And think about how crazy good he was in his 20s. So that's the way I interpret this, is like, it's like a child in a toy store at first with Edward Norton's Hulk. It's like, there's so many possibilities for this Hulk that he can be this great thing. But by the time we get to this point, he's experienced so much, and he has beaten now aliens, that now he's facing up against someone that adds more like shock value to, like, oh crap. This is crazy, and this is LeBron versus God now in a basketball game. So it's like, okay, Thanos, you just beat up Hulk. That's crazy. Yeah, that's my take. I do think there's a chance that Edward Norton's Hulk would have died if he. And I know the internet really loves the idea that, oh, if it was Edward Norton's Hulk, he would have put up more of a fight. I don't know.
I agree with that. I do. I agree with that. I because, and just from I understand what you're saying, but the maddest we've seen Hulk is the most powerful. So his powers are tied to unfiltered, unadulterated rage. And the angrier you make him, the more powerful he becomes. Now, everything that you said about, external forces and extraterrestrial beings, all of that is true. But again, if we're talking angry Hulk, I'm not saying he beats Thanos. It's a better fight.
I'm going to present this one question, and
okay.
then we can end this. Abomination. How would Abomination have fared against Thanos? Because that's the way I interpret this: is that Abomination and that version of the Hulk had a really close fight. And I think if Abomination fought Thanos, I think with one arm tied behind his back, he could probably kill Abomination with no Infinity Stone. So that's what I question. Is like that fight was so close between that version of the Hulk and Abomination that it's like if Abomination went up against Thanos in Infinity War, I think very easily Thanos kills Abomination in probably the same time that he defeated Hulk that we got on.
That's fair. That's
so fair. That's where I think that Hulk. I think Hulk still puts up a good fight, that version of Hulk, but I also think there's a better chance that he gets killed because he doesn't know really what he's doing yet. Also, when you go back and watch all these movies, it feels like this version, Mark Ruffalo's version of the Hulk, is taller than Edward Norton's. It's just me. I don't know why. When I look at the Hulks, I don't know what the height. I'm sure someone on the internet somewhere has a height chart of all the Hulks, but this Hulk just looks taller than the one we got. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that this Hulk has a taller head than Edward Norton's. Edward Norton has like a wider head, I think.
You know what's interesting? When Abomination and Hulk fight, they look like Godzilla and King Kong. Like they look that big, right? So I guess it just depends on when you're talking about, because they look 30 feet tall when they fight each other. Now they're not, but they look that way because they're able to see each other from great distances, right? So I don't know. You could argue that. But let's talk about some character arcs, man. So what's interesting, and the reason I really love this film is because of everything that goes on in this. So not only does Thor lose his hammer, but he loses an eye. Right? When Hela comments on it before she does it, oh wow, let me go ahead and do this. Bam! Now you look like your dad or something like this. She is talking trash. But what it does, and Odin says this to him, you have two eyes, but still you don't see. And it forces Thor to look deeper.
That line's so hard. That line is so cool.
It is. But it forces Thor to look deeper, and he says to Thor says, I can't fight without my hammer. And Odin says, are you the god of hammers? and he says no. And this is Odin's way of saying, boy, who are you? Do you know how powerful you are? Do you know who you are? Right? Even in the beginning, when he's fighting, I forget who he's fighting somebody for the first time. Thor says, I'm not strong enough to go on. Odin says, no, you're stronger. Odin says, no, you're stronger. So Odin is in this age, really, he's become Thor's Obi-Wan, right? Thor is
Yes.
able to reach out to him when he needs it. And as Hela is beating the bricks off him, he says to him, "Are you the god of hammers? No, you don't need a hammer." I love the way they do it because Hela is talking trash. Well, what god are you? What are you the god of? And all of a sudden his eyes go light, and she
Mhm.
found out. She effed around and found out what Thor was the god of. And I loved it. I love that
Mhm.
scene. I love that. He's like, bam. And not only that, but the transition to the song that they make when he goes on that bridge and starts just wiping people out.
Mhm.
And this is the Thor that we see in Infinity War. Because
Mhm.
to this point, we haven't seen this version of Thor. We've
Mhm.
seen light iterations, but we've not seen this is 34-year-old LeBron that we're looking at right now
Mhm.
to kind of go along with your
Oh,
analogy.
this is my 2012 13
Right,
Miami Heat
right,
LeBron. They're
right,
like this
right,
is peak Thor right
right,
here all the way through Infinity War. I
right,
love this.
right,
Incredible.
right. And Thor is on a mission. And you know what I mean? It's interesting because there's so many things going on. And before we get into what takes place, we need to take a look at some character arcs. So Loki kind of goes from self-interest to responsibility. You never know with him.
Mhm.
But I think one thing that kind of stood out to me, Jordan, is they're about to leave Sakaar. And, Thor says, I thought we'd be killing bad guys forever. I thought we'd,
Mm.
be fighting folks forever. He said, but you are who you are, bro, and I am who I am, and that's not changing, and it just is what it is. And it's Thor's way of saying, I'm going to accept you for who you are. I'm
Mhm.
not going to expect you to be me. I'm not going to expect you to be decent. I'm going to love you where you are. And in true Loki fashion, Loki goes to betray him. And Thor says, ah. He's got the power nullifier in his hands. And while he was talking to Loki, he slipped one of the discs on his neck and goes, Psh, he says, now that I know, bro, you're gonna have to change it. You're kind of predictable. You know what I mean? He's doing to Loki. A lot of these things in the MCU are full circle, right? So in the Avengers, when Loki is in that trap or that cage that's really for the Hulk, and he opens the bridge and Thor jumps at him, and it's a holograph, and Thor says, "Are you ever?" I'm sorry. Loki says, "Are you ever not going to fall for that?" That's akin to now, in Ragnarok when he says, "You've gotten predictable, bro." You know what I mean? He's talking trash to him, but he's also saying, "In life, we got to elevate, we got to grow, we got to change, bro. You're doing the same thing. You've been doing this. This go back 5, 6 years. What are you doing, Loki?" At a certain point, you gotta look inward, and I believe Loki does that, and Loki embodies that, right? Loki also takes the Tesseract, but whatever, we'll get into that next movie. But I believe a large part of his arc is really looking at himself and taking accountability for who he is, not blaming the world because he wasn't the true king, not blaming Odin for all of his problems, but him really looking at himself. To me, that's a large part of this of his heart, of his arc. And then when we look at Valkyrie, right? Valkyrie to me has survivor's guilt because and they, again, this is Disney, they don't get into this, but the person that saved her life, that stepped in front of Hela's blade, had to be significant to her. Had to be significant. And again, I don't know the nature of that relationship. They don't say it.
Oh, well, it's very clear and obvious when you get into Thor: Love and Thunder and the Marvels that she is lesbian. So I think it's, and I, based off the comics also, she is, and it would make total sense that that's like some, like maybe a girlfriend, a wife, a spouse, some
Right, right.
that's a significant other to her, or Or I mean, either way, you could look at it as like that was a best friend to her.
Right. But
Like
either way, this
yeah,
person is
had a
significant to her,
yes,
and
yes,
her death rings
yeah,
in her ears. And she blames Odin
yeah.
because she says
I would too.
when Thor brings it to her, I don't want to get into Odin's family drama. And it
Hmm.
sounds like she's thinking like you, he should have just killed her.
Yeah.
Instead of taking us through all of this, and he should have just killed her, and then my friends and my best friend would still be alive, and I wouldn't be here going through this, right?
Hmm.
A large part of her is that she doesn't care because all of her friends are dead. How's that song go? All my friends are dead, whatever. All of her friends are dead, right? So her character arc is finally embracing the fact that, you know what, these people are gone and I've got to move forward and I've got to move on. And that's a part of her arc. And when she finally does embrace that, she is awesome.
Hmm.
This is one badass chick right here, man. Like, she is awesome, and I love that dynamic. And Hela to me is like Odin's dark secret. Not that she was the result of an affair. I don't think she was, but Hela is his secret that he doesn't want to get out. What's interesting to me is when she goes into the main castle in Asgard and she looks up and sees the painting, she immediately begins to throw her arrows or daggers or whatever it is, and it just brings down. And I had forgotten this piece in the movie. So when
Hmm.
I'm watching it the other day, Jordan, I'm like, why is she doing that? And then I see the real picture that's behind it, right? And to me, this is a metaphor how a lot of us think that we can just cover up past indiscretions, but how they have a way of coming back to get us, how they have a way of coming back to show themselves. And this is what this is. This right here is Odin's dirty secret coming to life. This is the thing that he did not address in life. And
Hmm.
so now, upon his death, it is coming to revisit the world. Uh, but that's just that arc to me. Hulk is kind of Hulk is warring with himself. And this is the beginning of a 3 arc conflict
Hmm.
that is resolved
Yeah.
in Endgame, but it starts here because Banner and Hulk are definitely getting to the point to where they don't trust each other because Banner's like, oh my God, Hulk took over. It was like I was there, but I had no control. And he doesn't like that. So now at his core, at his identity, there's this struggle between Banner and Hulk and all that's going on with that. And that to me, those are the character arcs. Let's get back to the story.
I
So,
I do want to talk about Loki's character arc
all
specifically
right,
because
what you got?
uh, not really, maybe not his character arc, but this section of Thor and him fighting together. Um, it was it felt like something that I was always missing. Like there were stories. I mean, we saw at the beginning of the first Thor movie Loki and Thor fighting together, but we had never truly seen them really fight with one another.
Right.
And it felt like something it like scratched an itch I didn't know that was itching. It was a piece of a puzzle I didn't know I was missing. And I love the conversation they have on the elevator. Especially, I think about this line all the time when Thor looks to Loki, and so and like after he just says, "Loki, I thought the world of you," and I'm just at
Mhm.
that line always hits me because I'm like, for years, even when you go to the first Avengers movie, if people look at Thor and like, why do you defend Loki? Why do you defend Loki? And it's this like, I mean, a lot of us have like family members that like we just don't understand why they do dumb things, and then but we care a lot about them, and we think that they can be this like better person. We have friends and family that are always like that. And that's what I see with Thor and Loki's relationship. That Thor looks to Loki. He loves Loki. He understands that he's not a good person for a lot of reasons, but he also thinks a lot about Loki, that he can be this great
Right.
person. And
that's his brother.
yes. And so when he looks to him and says, Loki, I thought the world of you, and you see the switch in Loki's head that's like, oh,
What?
like
Right. Yeah.
he never knew he never knew he needed to hear that from Loki. Had always been throughout all these movies like just treated, everybody just didn't like him, and for good reasons, because he gave them reasons why not to trust him. And Thor still, despite all of that, just still thinks so highly of him.
Right.
And I love that. I love this dynamic that's like they kind of both look to each other. That's like, it makes sense if Loki stays there, and Thor agrees. And it's the one time they are both in agreement on something, and that there's no hidden agenda by anyone. This is a beautiful emotional moment that we've never seen between the two of them, and both coming to an agreement on something. And
you know what else is not there? Odin is not there. So
yes!
there's not this fight
Yes.
for Odin's attention.
Yes.
You don't even have to speak it, but there's not this struggle to get Dad's approval. Odin is not there. These are two men who are resolved in who they are and their identities.
Yep.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And then I want to touch on one of the funniest scenes in the entire movie that I think of to this day, immediately after this emotional moment. And look, maybe this was the wrong time for this, because I don't like when deep emotional scenes in movies get broken. That tension gets broken with a really funny line. I don't like that. It's like, I don't know. I don't like it. But this is still hilarious nonetheless when Thor looks to Loki right after this and says, "Let's do Get Help." And Loki's like, "I don't want to do Get Help." And look, if it's your first time watching this, you're probably like, "What are they talking about?" And Loki's like, "I don't want to do it," and he's like, "You'll love it." And he's like, I hate Get Help."
I hate it.
And then cuts to elevator opening,
help,
and he's like, "Help!" Loki's got like a pale face on, and he's like, "Help!" And then he throws Loki at the guards. So funny. I love it. I don't like where it was, but I love the scene nonetheless. And he's like, "See, you love it." And oh yeah, it's so great.
There's something about a brother's love, man. So I have two brothers, and I talk about Eric all the time. I don't talk about Victor that much. Victor is my youngest brother. But there is a love amongst brothers that is just not common. Like I've got Victor and Eric. I've got Lamar and Kip, who I've known all my life, but there's a love there to where it doesn't matter, right? When I think my brother was 12 years old and it was Halloween and my dad asked me to go with him for trick-or-treating, and I was doing something, and somebody ended up taking his candy. And if I ever see that bastard Jordan, I will end my life that day to exact some revenge, because that is my brother. It doesn't matter. They're just certain things that are just, there's a bond amongst brothers that's not like any other, which is why Thor defends him, right? Which is why Thor defends him so vigorously. And it's also why it was so funny in the beginning when it was like, well, your brother tried to kill all these people. Well, he's adopted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the point of the matter is, let me tell you something. I love both my brothers, and all of us have different personalities, but my brothers, I will give my life for them at a moment's notice, and I don't need anything back. And that's what you're feeling, right? In that scene, you're feeling like, bro, it's just us, right? Dad is gone, him and his BS, right? It's just us. Let's talk as men. Loki, let's talk as men. I thought it would be me and you against the bad guys forever, but you are who you are, Loki. And you know what? It's all good. You do you. That's the path you took. It's okay. I'm gonna love you anyway. But that's not how. And it. You're right. It does catch Loki off guard because Loki is such a deceiver that when he's hit with this blind truth, it cuts him like, oh, damn. Because a part of the game, right? A part of Loki's game is fooling Thor into, well, I really believe you this time. And this is the first time we see Thor basically say, look, Loki, you are who you are, man. That's par for the course for you. Oh, okay. Let me guess. You got this guy waiting to betray me. That's who you are, bro. It's okay. I love you anyway. Guess what? Bam. Bet you didn't think of this. But it's the fact that in the conversation, I think Loki doesn't like the fact that he's predictable. He also doesn't like the fact that Thor is finally accepting the fact that, disappointment comes with you, right? And it catches him off guard. But I agree with you. I think it's a wonderful scene. And I think it's why in Infinity War we see Loki go that far, because Loki is saying to himself, not this time. No, because Loki really does. If you think about it, he makes the ultimate sacrifice. If he doesn't do that, Thanos probably kills Thor in that moment. He probably does. And Loki knows this. And let's be honest, at the beginning of Avengers, did you really see Loki giving his life for Thor? Of all people? Mm-hmm. So I think this is a large part of Loki's growth in the fact that he is willing to give his life for another human being. Mm-hmm. Even though it's his brother, Loki, being the self-indulgent person that he is, I'm not going to call him a narcissist, but the self-indulgent person that he is, there's no way you could have told me 5 years prior to that this guy is going to give his life so Thor can go on. But anyway,
somehow he goes on an even bigger arc with the Loki series that I never expected.
Right.
Somehow I don't I thought the idea of a Loki series was awful, and I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is a great idea." I was one of the people that was like, "No, like I don't want this, because I don't know how." But the way it's done and the way Tom Hiddleston does this character in that series, it takes like the arc that he has through Infinity War when he dies is beautifully done. And somehow, some way, the way they do it in the series adds so much layers to the character that I love that series so much. It is one of my favorite series in Marvel.
Yeah, no, agreed. So they get off of Sakaar. They go through the time warp or whatever that thing is. They end up getting back to
Asgard.
Thank you. and Thor goes after Hela and they fight. And I think the sole purpose of this is for Odin to show Thor who he really is. And from that moment on, it's on Thor and Loki and Banner, who becomes Hulk, and Valkyrie all team up and they defeat Hela. And one of the most important pieces is when Thor realizes that, you know what? Asgard is not a place, it's a people. And I think it's really when we see that he accepts the fact that, okay, this world is going to end, but we'll go on to another world. This world is going to end. We'll go on to another world. We'll build again. We'll start over. And he starts to embrace it. And as they're taking on Hela, and Hela just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, he finally says, all right, man, this is what you got to do. You're going to have to set Surtur loose, right? And what's interesting as Loki is going through the castle and he sees the Tesseract, I'm like, golly, and I hear Thor's voice, brother, you really are the worst.
Yes, yeah.
It made it so much funnier because you see him stop and look like, and I'm like, if he just doesn't do that, the whole thing doesn't happen, and we don't get Fat Thor because he doesn't blame himself for all of those lives that are lost, right?
Well, here's my hot take. I think Thanos has still got the Infinity Stone because if Loki doesn't do that, Asgard gets destroyed. But this is an Infinity Stone we're talking about.
So it's gonna call to him.
I think the Infinity Stone would have still survived that.
It probably would have.
And I think Thanos would have eventually realized that it was on Asgard. He would have gone to the wreckage of Asgard. He would have gotten it either way.
But he wouldn't have gone to the ship and killed Heimdall and Loki. And because Thor, what happens with Thor is he takes on all of that guilt, right? He takes on all of that. So anyway, I thought that was great. Obviously, he goes, retrieves the helmet, and Surtur comes from the depths of hell. And now, again, the main antagonist in scene 1 is basically the protagonist that's going to allow the citizens of Asgard to get away, right? Which is, it's funny, today's friend can be tomorrow's enemy, and today's enemy can be tomorrow's friend, right? Because at the end of the day, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. And in this case, it's Surtur, right? And I just thought, I love the way they did that. I thought that was a very interesting play on that. And I think that it is wisdom for Thor to finally see this. Because if this is Thor from Dark World or before, Thor goes down with the ship.
Yeah.
But Thor finally is like, look, it's about these people. It's about my father's legacy. I cannot let this happen. Let's move on. And just imagine the war he's having with himself because he's like, I can't let Asgard die. And his father says to him, Asgard is not a place. It's a people. Again, it's him being the voice of Obi-Wan in Thor's head. If there was an MVP to this movie, it's got to be Odin. Even though he's a bastard, even though he's not a great father, he is the MVP of this movie. Because I know it hurts you to say it.
I don't think so.
I know it hurts you
because I think he's the reason this movie even exists in the first place. That Hela is in prison.
And he's also the reason they're able to move forward and Hela is destroyed. He's also the same reason.
He finished it, but he's also the reason it started. It's like, it's like, okay, it's all right. Imagine you save your family from your house being engulfed in flames, but you're the one who started the flame.
Right.
It's like you can parade yourself all you want. Like, I saved my family. You also started. We didn't start the fire. You started the fire. like you get what I'm saying? Like, yes, He
You
instilled the
started with
wisdom.
fire.
He was valuable to Thor in those moments, but he also was the least valuable person in the beginning of this film because he's the reason that all
He
this bull crap
he
ended up
was,
happening.
but that was millennia ago, and he was a different
That was
person.
like a week ago.
No, no.
Yeah. Well,
When he
him
banished
telling
Hela,
Thor.
when he banished Hela, it was millennia ago. He was a different person. You're talking about a different level of wisdom, right? I'm 55. The decisions that I make now, I wouldn't have made 30 years ago. Young T. Will was a dumbass. I would not have, I was a totally different person. So I've been blessed with 30 years of wisdom. You're talking about Odin, who's been blessed with millennia, right? Odin's probably 30,000 years old. So you're holding him accountable for a decision that he made maybe 20,000 years ago, and now
So
he's acquired 20,000 years of wisdom.
so all right, back to the fire analogy. He knew the fire was starting. And instead of
Back and let go of it.
instead of
Back
preventing
and
the
let go of
fire
it.
from spreading, instead of preventing the fire from spreading to all their parts of the house, he just told his family like, "Hey, there's a fire happening. I'm going to save you guys." Instead of putting out the fire or telling the family like, "Hey, there's a fire starting. We need to figure out how to stop the fire from starting." Like I'm looking at it from not just like millennia ago, from like
Right.
literally when he told Thor and Loki, like, "Hey, by the way, that happened." It's like, okay, bro, maybe you should have warned these two
Mhm.
a long time ago. If you truly grew as a person at all in your life, you would have told them. But no, you had to keep secrets. You didn't even, there were secrets you didn't even tell them that they found out after you died. Like that's he's
So let me ask you this: when was he gonna tell Thor this? Thor in the first Thor, is he mature enough to handle this? No.
no.
Thor in Dark World, is he mature enough to handle this?
Yes,
No, no,
that
he's
Thor.
not.
Yes,
No, he
yes,
is not.
he is.
No, he is not.
Yes, he
No,
is.
he is
Because
not.
how did he grow to be more mature in Dark World?
He's still not mature enough to handle that.
Because I don't think he has a character arc in the Dark World that much. I don't think many characters have
Here,
character arcs in Dark World. That's what makes it a bad movie.
here's what I know about Odin.
Because I didn't even think he grew.
I'm 55 years old. I have 55 years of wisdom. This man has 30,000 years of wisdom. 30,000 years of wisdom. So maybe he looked at Thor and saw things. No, he's not ready yet. No, he's not ready yet. No, he's not ready yet. Because remember, Thor rejects the kingdom in Dark World. He
Yes,
says,
and he's very
I know that I'm not ready at this, but he rejects it.
But that wasn't Odin. That was
wasn't
Loki.
Odin, but you can't.
That was Loki.
But Odin saw that though. Odin and Thor have a connection. Now I don't know that Odin. We never see, or at least I can't remember there being a time where Odin called out to Loki from the grave, or Odin called out to Loki from beyond. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. I don't know that we see it. We do see that with Thor. So I have to imagine that,
blood.
right? But I have to imagine that even though that was to Loki, that Loki knew of this, that Loki knew of Thor's rejection of the crown. And I'm not saying you're not right. What I'm saying is that's something we got to think about. Like, when would be the appropriate time to tell Thor, right?
At some point over the course of his entire like thousands of years on this earth.
Maybe
it's the same thing with Loki. Like
maybe if he took the realm of Asgard, maybe if he agreed to be king, maybe then Loki has that conversation with him.
it's not about, I don't think it's about when with this, because it's about, okay, I need to tell my kids this in general so they're ready.
Right. I
It's
get it.
like they need, like, it's not about whether they're more mature or not. It's like it's like she can kill all of you.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be ready, and we need to physically understand, like, okay, what elements of this can we do? What can we do to slow her down and stop her? How can we figure this out? This will happen. And but instead he's just like, oh, by the way, you have a sister. Bye. What in the world is
I
that?
love you, my sons.
It's like,
By the way, I
that's
love you, my
so
son.
so
By
no.
the way,
So I will disagree. I think he's
okay,
valuable in
that's
the
fair.
last. I think he's valuable in the last scene.
Okay,
Yes,
in
but
just the last scene.
in his flashbacks, the two flashbacks that
Yeah, but he
like
has a bunch
the
of
visions,
flashbacks in the movie.
like he is in the two specific ones where
Okay,
he's talking to Thor to
right,
instill
right.
words of
Confidence.
confidence. Yes.
Hmm.
Like I understand that like the Obi-Wan reference you
Right.
say, it makes total sense. So, but otherwise, I mean, if you drop 15 passes and then you catch the game-winning touchdown, like, that doesn't mean you're
Like
going to be the most
T.O.
valuable. Like, all right,
98 T.O. against Green Bay, San Francisco. Perfect
yes,
analogy.
David Tyree, like, just because David Tyree had that one catch does not mean he's the most valuable player. Or like I mean, there's
You could argue
billions
he was the most valuable player of that Super
in that
Bowl.
moment.
Not named Eli.
Not
Well, if he doesn't catch that, they don't win that game.
well, they still have to score the touchdown.
Yeah, but it's fourth and whatever.
They still have to score the touchdown too.
It's
Like,
getting down to
my
down.
argument is Plaxico Burress was more valuable player to the entire game than David Tyree. So Plaxico Burress probably had a better chance at MVP than David Tyree. I mean, Plaxico was the one who caught the game-winning touchdown. So people forget that. People people who didn't. I think, and here's my Mandela effect that I believe will happen about that. This is really quick off subject. I think eventually, over the course of time, people will think that David Tyree catch was like, when people just mention it, will be completely blown out of proportion into possibly that being a game-winning touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, no, like, I think 100 years from now, in the same way we talk about like Babe Ruth's called shot, and we talk about a lot of different instances throughout sports history that just did, like, Michael Jordan's the shot wasn't a 3-point shot, it was a 2-point shot.
Right.
It's the same instance. I think people are going to think like, oh, David Tyree caught the touchdown. No, Plaxico Burress did. That was just a catch on third or fourth down. Very important and very crucial if they don't score a touchdown if that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. But they also still need to score the touchdown. So, like, there were still a lot of crucial parts. Like, for example, on that play that Plaxico scored, Rodney Harrison saw the coverage, tried to change the play, tried to tell Asante Samuel, like, hey, you're supposed to be here. Or no. Teddy Bruschi was trying to tell Rodney Harrison, like, hey, you're supposed to get here, get back. But it was too late, and that's when Plaxico was wide open for the touchdown. So I think getting back to, obviously, the beginning, we went off subject there, but he was very valuable in those two messages, specifically to Thor. But that doesn't mean, for me, I don't think he's top 3 most valuable character to this movie.
We'll agree to disagree.
I think Hulk's You want my unpopular opinion? I think Hulk is Hulk's the most valuable player of this story because without Hulk needs Thor needs a way to get off,
Yep.
and he needs to
Get
connect
off
with
the
certain
car.
people. And
Hard. Get
if
off the
Hulk
car.
is not there, then it's possible Thor's there for a longer time,
Right.
and
Correct.
that Hela has already controlled and
It's
killed
unleashed on the
people.
universe.
Yes.
Right.
So
Because
without
not only is, not to cut you off, not only is the ball game about Ragnarok, but it's about keeping Hela from going to other dimensions and raining havoc. That's what that was about.
Yes.
So
And
yeah,
same
I
thing
can.
with Valkyrie. I think Valkyrie is also up there in the conversation because of the same thing as the Hulk. I think her especially her knowledge of all of the stuff on Asgard, or she adds another layer to where I think they are two very valuable pieces to everything.
Yes.
Loki, I think, is also very valuable to this. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about Thor because the movie is literally about him. It's literally in the title. But Loki is also valuable in the same instance. Without Loki, Hulk, and Valkyrie, Thor probably does not get off of their Sakaar, and if he does, it's way later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Also, Heimdall, underrated, valuable player because he's the one who saved literally all the Asgardians.
Because he saw it coming. That's what's interesting, and nobody says anything about. They kind of allude to it when somebody says, I'm here, and he's like, I know, I saw you coming. So, but it's like we don't see him in the beginning. And what's his name? Well, he left his post. No, he left his post because long before y'all even thought about it, he saw Hela was coming. And he knew where he needed to be at the time he needed to be there, right? Because he goes back to get the sword when Hela and Dubois, I can't think of his name, when they go into the city and he leaves the sword, that's when Heimdall goes to collect it. So Heimdall has to have an idea of the sequence of events as to when they occur. So which is again why I feel so bad for Fat Thor, because
the way you said it, it's like I feel so bad for Fat Thor.
I do.
You put so much emphasis on the fat. I was like, oh, okay. Like you didn't say I feel so bad for. You didn't say I feel bad for Thor in Endgame. You didn't say I feel bad for Thor. You didn't say I feel bad for Thor after all of this. You said I feel bad for Fat Thor.
Well, let me tell you something. Fat Thor is an inspiration for fat guys everywhere. Okay, damn it. I don't care what y'all say. I like Fat Thor. Okay, you don't all have to be sexy and have abs to be a hero. You can be a bona fide fat ass like T Will and still go out there and get it done. So whatever, people. I like Fat Thor, but I feel bad for him because I know the one thing he's saying to himself every night is, if I just would have aimed for the head, if I hit him in the head, it's game over, right? We can go back in time. We can undo all of this stuff. That's what Thor is wrestling with. And it's so cruel that for that brief moment in time, Jordan, they get away from Ragnarok. And Thor is because remember, the prophecy and Thor's initial hallucination was, you're going to get everybody killed, right? That when they take on Wanda and the Avengers, who were they fight? Jordan, help me out. Jesus, old man brain. Ultron, Age of Ultron. Oh, yeah. When she gives them this vision, it says you're in this vision. Idris Elba says to him, you're going to get everybody killed. You're going to get everybody killed. And that, in Thor's mind, is exactly what happened. He went through holy hell to get them off of Asgard to take them to Earth, and a lot of them ended up dying anyway.
And
And
people
he,
thought that was referencing the events of Ragnarok happening, but
but
it
it
in
wasn't.
turn was referencing Infinity War.
Correct. Correct.
So it's either way. Again, it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning of this movie, where some things are just meant to happen, and you have
Right.
to work your way through them.
And exactly.
That's it. Either way, that was always meant to happen.
Yes. Yeah. But for me, I can empathize for Fat Thor because I probably blame myself for my mom's death for a year and a half. I didn't take my medication. I did damage to myself behind guilt because I was so worried about, oh God, did I cause this? So I know what the manifestation of guilt will do, and it will make you gain weight. Because a lot of us, obviously, Jordan, you don't do this, but a lot of us eat our feelings. Okay,
I used to do it.
Let me tell you something. When I'm depressed, God damn it, Jordan McDonald's is my best friend. Come on over here, T. Will. Come on. Tell Big Mac about it. What's going on with you? You sit down. You come on, get this filet of fish and these fries and that Coke. It's gonna be all right, T. Will. Hey, let me tell you something, man. So I understand Fat Thor at a level most of y'all know that I understand Fat shit. I root for him. Okay, whatever. I love me some Fat Thor. It's not your fault, Fat Thor. You be all right. You get over it in Endgame. But anyway, man, let's go ahead and rate this. So while I definitely can't give this film a 10, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the character arcs. I enjoyed some of the realizations, right? So for me, I gave this an 8 out of 10, Jordan. And I know your first thought is, Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to wait till December for you to give me where this is going to be, because half your list.
Oh my God, this is ridiculous. I'm looking at this whole list. You got a whole list of 8 out of 10s. You got to rank the 8.
I do.
You got to rank the 8 out of 10s out of 10.
Right. Exactly. So I know, right? 8 out of 10, index 1, index 2. No. So for me, I'm going to put this right below Black Widow and right above Dark Phoenix for me.
Oh, Black Widow. Wow.
Yeah. That's what I give it. Now, after having a conversation with you and thinking about it, I'm thinking you're either going to give this movie a 7 out of 10 or a 7.5. I'm going to go with 7.5. I could be wrong, but I'm going to say you're going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. But I'm going to shut up now. What do you give this movie, buddy?
Wow. Going into this, I honestly expected to hear a higher rating from you on it. Because maybe I had to reapproach this movie, because all right, look, everybody loves this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think and when this first came out, I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. And I actually, when it first came out, it was my third highest rated Marvel movie when it came out, behind the first Avengers movie and Civil War. And over time that has changed. Again, like I said, I think the jokes, I don't think they land as good. But I still love the entire story. I also think the more I rewatch it, the more I realize the parts on Sakaar go by so fast, and
yes,
it feels like a bump in the road. Like it's almost like it's almost like, wow, all I had to do was go around it and I would have been good. Like it felt like we didn't do much being here. It was just to grab Valkyrie and Hulk and connect more. We had more conversations with him and Loki, but it feels like we could have had that elsewhere.
It was a way to make a Planet Hulk movie without making a Planet Hulk movie, because Hulk works better with buddies.
Yes. So I really enjoyed this movie still. there are still a lot of parts that I really enjoy that are funny. But also a lot of jokes that I don't think age very well. I love what they do with Thor. I love this version of Hulk. Um, the music, the score is fantastic.
Yes.
The score and the music is
Especially,
fantastic,
yes.
especially at the end.
Yes.
Also, all the
Yes.
memes that came from this movie, like when Thor at the end, I use this all the time too, where Hela's like, how can you possibly stop me? Or Hela's like, I don't know what Hela says, but Thor's like, oh, I won't be able to stop you, but he will.
But he
And then
will.
Surtur
Right.
shows up out
Right.
of nowhere.
Right.
And I'm like, that's fantastic. I love
That
that.
is.
That's awesome.
That is. That is.
I love a lot of times Loki does projections and stuff like that, and Thor thinks that there's a projection of Loki at the end of the movie when he throws a ball at him and Loki catches it. I was like, "Aw, like that's so sweet." Now you all are gonna die soon. So I look, I really enjoy. I do enjoy this movie. I think the action is by far the best of Thor that we've gotten up until Infinity War. I gave this movie an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I still really enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, I was planning like a lot more like negative thoughts because of how positive this movie is viewed. I think this movie is probably one of the most overrated Marvel movies, just based off my opinion. I think more people think this movie is like a top. I mean, some people have this in their top 5. Some people have it in their top 10,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
top 10 for
don't.
me.
I think it's really good.
Mhm.
But I won't put it in my top 10. I have 8.5 out of 10. I have it just let's see. I have it just below Deadpool and above the Defender series. I kind of put it in reference to Deadpool, but I think there's more emotional weight to the
Yes.
Deadpool movie.
Yes.
And I also think when it comes to the jokes, I think Deadpool is one of those movies that the jokes just. I mean, I learn more jokes. And that's what makes a good comedy. Is when the jokes there's so many good jokes that the more every time you watch it, it's like you learn more. Or
Yeah.
you'll watch a movie that you didn't know it would reference, and you're like I saw 127 Hours for the first time, then I watched Deadpool, and I'm like, this is hilarious. Like that's what makes good comedies, like Step Brothers, Napoleon Dynamite, like some of the Naked Gun movies is that, or Airplane.
The
is
Ballad
that
of Ricky Bobby.
you
Dinners for
continue
winners,
to
Daddy. Dinners
you
for winners.
continue to learn, and that's what makes Deadpool so great with with its comedy. I don't think the action's as good as in this movie, but I also think otherwise I put them on the same wavelength, and I put Ragnarok just below it. But yeah, I really enjoy this movie. Maybe it's not where it was when I first saw it, but and I think I watched it a lot more after the first time I saw it, but it seems like on rewatch, when I go back and rewatching it, I just don't view it as high of a standard as necessarily I have in the past.
Yeah. No, I get it. For me, the reason I didn't give it a 9 was because I would have liked to have taken a little bit deeper dive at Valkyrie, and I want to know what Loki thinks about Odin. I wanted to see if Odin reaches out to Loki. That's
I don't
a
think
part
he
of that.
can. I don't think he can, because I think it's a blood thing. I think Thor is his blood son. Like I think inherently, I don't think Loki would be able to ever.
Okay. Well, I would have loved to have known more of Loki's thoughts on that. But other than that, like, I loved it. I loved it. I loved the action. I loved the way they related to each other. I totally dug the brother moments between Thor and Loki. I felt like this is the best versions of themselves moving forward as men. So yeah, I loved it, man. Definitely. So Yeah, man. So next we're Punisher season 2. Is that right?
That is a good question.
I think
We
we are.
have Punisher season 2.
And then Jessica Jones season 3.
And
So next Thursday, we got this coming Thursday. I'm sorry. We have Punisher season 2, and then that Saturday, Jessica Jones season 3.
Yes.
And then we are done with all of the 13 episode shows. Yay! Awesome. You guys don't get that, but trust me, Jordan gets that. Jordan understands that 138%. So, hey, to everyone who joined us for these 2.5 hours, we appreciate you. We thank God for you joining us just so we can kind of go through this and talk about Marvel movies, which we love with all of our hearts. And we thank you. And, I guess by extension, we love you for joining us. So thank you. You guys have a great weekend, and we will see you Thursday. Good night, everybody, or good day, everybody, whichever you want to call it. Thank you. This movie was about
Lights, camera, action is going down. For my ATL movies, when we run this town with your host, T-Will, yeah, keeping it real. From the A to the screen, you can feel the thrill. Rolling with the classics, we're setting the pace. Highlighting the magic of our soulful space. Got the vibe, got the crew, making it tight. When the screen lights up, everything feels right. Grab your popcorn, let's make it loud. T-Will, T-Will. It's movie time, ATL style. Stand proud. From the silver screen to the hearts we steal. T-Will, T-Will. Every frame we capture is a real deal. Yeah. Talking premieres where the stars align. ATL views, yeah, they really shine. Behind the lens,